ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome on in. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. It is Sunday Fun Day yet again. Week number 7 is officially in the books. We have got tons to discuss, tons to get into, so much to react to as our weekend in Dallas officially has come to an end. We'll talk all about that, Red River, everything to do with that game, myself and Cole the Bear Thompson being on hand for that. We got a lot to unpack, a lot to decompress from on the field, off the field, the state fair, everything in between. A lot of other notable results as well that we're really excited to discuss. And again, of course, guys, we will take your questions and your comments here on this Sunday. Really excited for you guys to join us. Once again, I am Chris Phillips. He's Cole the Bear Thompson. As always, guys, before we get going, make sure you hit that like and that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, we are on the chase to 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. We can't do it without your love and support. So again, make sure you do that. And also check out our friends over at FANDUEL, FANDUEL.com/SECU. As always, we're brought to you by our friends at FANDUEL. Once again, FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in deposit bonus when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. This is the Overtime Drive Sunday Fun Day edition. We are here reacting to everything that took place in Week 7, a very entertaining Week 7 for numerous different reasons across the league. As always, guys, I'm Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my good friend, co-host, colleague, and the man that I spent the weekend with in Dallas, Texas, Cole the Bear Thompson. Bear, you have made it back to your home base in Houston. I have made it back to my home base in Nashville. I just saw you a couple hours ago. So, again, it's good to see you again, my friend. Really appreciate you. Had a great weekend with you. I know we'll discuss it in detail, but excited to talk about all these games and talk to all these folks that, again, many of you we saw in person this weekend that you said you'd be in the comments, you'd be in the chat, raising hell. Many of you from the Texas side, of course. But, Bear, fun to do it with you again, my friend. Really excited to talk what happened in Week 7.
What a weekend. Like, from the time that we arrived in Dallas on Friday afternoon, went to the state fair, got on in, started doing the vlog, people getting to notice us, coming up and saying, hey, I appreciate the work you do. From the bottom of my heart, and I won't spend a lot of time, just to everyone that came on up and said, great podcast. We love listening to you guys. We love that you guys are always talking about our team. You go full in detail when breaking down every single bit of film. I cannot say thank you enough. Like, for me, it's always a joy to hang out with Chris. It's always a joy to be able to see these games up close and in person. But to run into Rex St. Charles and to Sandman and to countless others, Jadar, if you are watching this program, I missed you, buddy. Thank you for last night. We cannot thank you enough for what you guys always do for us and always coming back to the channel and helping us continue to grow. And for everyone that reached out, thank you. For everyone that took a sticker, everyone that said, hey, we're going to follow you guys. Appreciate you. All the photos, selfies that we took. Appreciate you. And we got a game. We had a fun game. We saw Texas actually live up to its expectations. We went afterwards and saw a blundering of mistakes between Auburn and Georgia. We saw Florida versus Texas A&M feel too close for comfort at times, and then Texas A&M pulled away. We saw Alabama early on in the day play around a little bit too close for comfort to where things got dicey toward the end. Luckily, you may have the Heisman Trophy winner sitting in your backfield as your quarterback, and that ultimately is going to be the deciding factor, I think, moving forward. But let's go ahead and break this down, man. How was the flight or the multiple of flights that you had to get on home?
Yeah, we had the connector today in Chicago. Everything went smooth. I was not, thankfully, and I really mean this, thankfully not affected by some of the government shutdown stuff. I saw some others in the sports media world and just the world in general that were impacted. My travel was not there or back. And if anybody asked if I had a good time this weekend, you can see, by the way, we've got the lid on. I mean, I'm literally sporting and supporting and rocking the Red River Shootout. Yeah, Bear, you hit the nail on the head. I want to say, too, thank you to everybody that came up, showed love, showed support. Our guy, Jackson Dar, not Jackson Dart, but Jackson Dar last night. Bear got a real taste of just some of the characters that I meet on a week-in, week-out basis. There are some you guys are absolutely electric. Again, shout out my guy, Travis Sandoval, Sandman in the chat, hooking me up with the ticket, the Vantage Point that I had. The vlog's going to be absolutely electric if you're a Texas fan. I don't know if you'll watch it if you're an Oklahoma fan. There's some good Oklahoma content in there. You've got Bears Vantage Point sitting on the OU side, my Vantage Point sitting down the Texas side. But again, it's lot more highlights for the Longhorns, obviously. And again, we'll talk about the game in a second. But Bear, I do want to say this because, again, I know you've been, and you had been before Saturday.
Yes.
And you tried to warn me or at least let me know what I was in for. And I got to be honest with you. I had pretty high expectations, but there was nothing that you or anyone else could have said that was going to prepare me for what I experienced over this past weekend and specifically on Saturday at the Red River Shootout. Coolest sporting event I've ever attended. I don't think that's a stretch, and I've been to some really, really good ones. I've been to some awesome venues, sat in some incredible environments, met some great fans. You know, probably before this, I'd say the College World Series was probably the coolest sporting event, or maybe the Masters, right? It's right up there at that level. And again, I would say it's the most unique sporting event I've ever attended, from, you know, the state fair itself, the venue being in the midst of the state fair, the 50-50 split of the crowd, the atmosphere, the environment inside. And again, I've been to other neutral site rivalry games, and it's all due respect, but nothing compares to the Red River Shootout. Again, the energy, the emotion. You've got two blue blood programs that have done a lot of winning in their day, and there's this hatred, but also this respect, but also this just loathing of each side. And you feel that throughout the entire game, the entire 60 minutes. Both fan bases are incredible. Again, both programs are historic. It's at a historic venue. It doesn't feel like a neutral site game where it's at an NFL stadium or it's like a very corporate-y kind of vibe. It is college football at its finest. Yep. And if you're not a Texas or Oklahoma fan, find some time, find a way, get down to Dallas, check this off your bucket list. I feel better as a college football fan and a sports fan now that I have gone to this. I'm grateful to say I was able to attend one of these, and grateful to say, God willing, it is not going to be my last. Far from it. So shout out to everybody that made the event so incredible. We had all the great fair food, and I learned so much over the weekend. I didn't even know Friday the Cotton Bowl was in the fairgrounds. I just thought you could just go to the stadium. I had to learn that lesson, if you will. So it was just so cool, man, taking it all in. You know, I'm getting to a point where there's going to come a point where some of these trips aren't going to be first. Most of them aren't going to be first because been there, done that. So anytime you get to do something for the first time, it's really, really cool. And you'll never forget your first time. I will never forget my first Red River Shootout, you know, sitting on the winning side, being amongst the Texas faithful, the student section right next to us. That, again, the atmosphere was crazy, but that game was just a spectacle unto itself and just unlike anything I've ever experienced in college football, in college sport, and just sport in general. So applaud the Red River Shootout, the folks that made it happen, that make that event what it is. And you didn't oversell it, Bear. And nobody else, all you Texas and Oklahoma fans who for over a year have been telling me to get out there, you didn't oversell it. So
again, I promise you, if you are a fan of college football, make this an environment, because not only are you going to go and enjoy a fantastic game, you're also going to try some of the most disgusting food that has ever existed, and you're going to come away better because of it. Deep fried butter, deep fried Twinkies. You're going to have to go ahead and get some deep fried ice cream in you. Bacon cotton candy on a stick. I mean, there are things that Chris and Phillips didn't even try. I can tell you what, though, you appreciate the fact that you were able to go inside that stadium, gain a little bit of cholesterol, and probably have to check your heart rate for walking around too much in the sweltering Texas sun, and you're better because of it.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to do, Bear, like a power rankings of the food that we have, but there was so much I didn't get to try because, you know, I really understand now, and I think what I will do differently next year, you know, I'm sure it'll be next year, whatever year it is, get in town earlier.
Yeah.
To go to the fair and have just like a full-on fair day, because you get there and the game is happening and there's just so much happening and there's so many people to go see and places to see and get ready for the game. It's very, very hard to get to all these different food spots and try all these different things. So that's like, you know, you live and you learn, and there's obviously stuff for us to do next year and the following and for me to do specifically. But yeah, did not get to try all the food, but the corn dog was fantastic. I mean, it was all good. The sausage on a stick was good to start the day. You obviously had the turkey leg. We also had
Chris Phillips, a turkey leg in Texas.
A turkey leg in Texas. Your breakfast of champions. I had plenty of Shiner Bock, that's for sure. I had plenty of cold snacks. And, we also had the brisket stuffed donut thing.
Pretzels.
That I don't get. Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, that was Shout out to Brad Kellner's dad for hooking us up
Kellner,
during the
you're
show.
the man.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Mark Kellner, shout out to you. Yeah, it was awesome. So, Bear, I do want to get to some of these comments because, again, we've got some folks that were with us in Dallas that are commenting and some others as well. Miss Terry's Bathwater, of course, is in the chat. We're going to talk about the game, what you're talking about in just a second. John Mateer and his health. Sandman, Mobile Homa fans, been talking smack for months. Time to take the L and spare us the weak-ass excuses. I'll be accepting public apologies from all OU fans. He also says, fun fact, OU has failed to score a touchdown versus Texas in 3 of the last 4 years. Again, I know it's going to be a lot of trash talk from Sandman. Bo Molinari's in here, Giga Mags. Appreciate you tuning in. Paul Rogers, Fire Napier. I know we're going to get a lot of that today as well. Rex St. Charles in the building. How y'all's cholesterol looking this afternoon? I'm feeling pretty good, actually. Again, I think we behaved for the most part when it came to the fair food. We did not just we actually went out last night and had a normal dinner. If that tells you anything, I was like, Bear, we got to go get some food with some substance. And we did that. So Bo, we didn't have the funnel cake. I mean, there's so much food still on the table. We definitely left something for next year for sure. Sandman, pleasure again. Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to sit with you. It was awesome. Kevin Smith's in here. We've got Wonk in here. Dogs, go Dogs. Everybody supporting, everybody representing. Kelly Clark talking the Gators. And again, so with that being said, let's get into the games. Again, we're going to keep featuring you guys' comments on the screen, but so many games to discuss. Bear, we have to start, of course, with the game that you and I were at, the Red River Shootout, which I also love the people commenting saying respect for calling it the Red River Shootout. Folks, there is no other name. I'm not calling it another name. It is the Red River Shootout. We will call it by its proper name here at SEC Unfiltered. I know, listen, I don't think Cole the Bear Thompson would jump on with me if I didn't call it by that name. So, I mean, I have no choice. But either way, the Red River Shootout, Bear, a game in which, listen, it didn't come down to the final couple player plays, but I thought it was a game that delivered when it came to dramatics, when it came to, big swings of momentum, if you will. I think I can very simply define and describe what happened in this football game. And I know you and I will decompress it here. When you go into a game like this, and you and I talked all week, why is Texas favored? Why are they the favorite? Like, what does Vegas know? Oklahoma felt like the very obvious choice in the football game, just based off of what we'd seen. The whole John Mateer storyline was the big thing. He obviously plays in the game, starts the game, plays the whole game. Nobody else takes a snap at quarterback. And that was something right before the game, Bear. You and I felt really confident. We talked to our guy, Travis Davidson of the Ref, who knows people that know some people, and we knew that he was going. And I have no problem with the decision. And I think he was healthy. And I actually applaud John Mateer. If you didn't see his comments, he came out and said, listen, no excuses. The pain was fine. It wasn't a big deal. Like, my eyes let me down today. I did not make good decisions. And Barry hit the nail on the head. You play a game like this, a Texas team that had been scuffling, that had been abysmal on the offensive side. And that was the big reason why I didn't pick them to win. You thought it was going to be a shootout. After what I'd seen from them offensively, I was like, there's just no way I can side with Texas. I don't trust the offense to muster much of anything. I give Texas and Steve Sarkisian a lot of credit. From the standpoint of this, they didn't make the back-breaking mistake offensively.
Yep.
Oklahoma did. They made multiple of them. Some of the interceptions by John Mateer, 3 of them to be exact. The one right before the half that you and I both agreed was just absolutely mind-blowing to throw yourself out of 3 points. You have the 3 turnovers, and you allow a special team score. Bear, if you told me that in pregame, I'd have told you whoever it was that did that lost the game, and it wasn't even close. And you lose by 17. So, I'm not surprised. In a game like this, it is very, very simple. And I thought Oklahoma moved the football decently between the 20s, but they made the mistakes you cannot make in a big game like this and live to tell the tale. And give Texas credit. This game was sloppy. This game was ugly. The offense was still hard to watch. But in the second half, I thought coming out of halftime, they made adjustments. Oklahoma did not. Texas stayed really, really stingy in the run game, resulting in frustration by some Texas fans around me, admittedly, Bear. And I even said it early in the third quarter, hey, you're going to have to scrap the run game. This is why I'm not a head football coach, because Steve Sarkisian said, no, we're going to keep running it, keep handing it off to Trey Wisner. And you're able to break a few. And you were able to be stingy in it. You put together some long drives, and I think you wore down the Oklahoma defense. This game continued to be close. Again, you put together some nice things. And then once you got that pick and once you got that punt return for a touchdown, that was curtains. That was curtains on Oklahoma. The way you were able to take this game in the second half, avoid the big mistakes, create the big mistakes. And again, like we mentioned, the proof's in the pudding. 3 out of 4 times now you've played Oklahoma in the last 4 years. You have not allowed them to cross the goal line. They have not scored in this football game, scored a touchdown, I should say, in 2 games. The last 2 games, the last 8 quarters of football, they have not crossed the goal line against your defense. So, again, I say all that. There's multiple layers. We can break it down, Cole. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But one team made the critical mistakes. The other team didn't. And the one that didn't won the football game. And, yeah, there's no secret sauce here, Bear. In a game like this, that's what you have to do.
Well, the one team that didn't also make the mistakes was able to look at its film from a week ago and say, hey, Florida decided to go and run it against us a million times, and we decided to go ahead and not trust our running back room. Let's go ahead and actually do what they did against us. And I said that the thing that you had to look at going into this game was take the notes that the Florida matchup cost you a win and don't allow it to duplicate a second time around. They ran it. They ran it down their throat. Trey Wisner, again, finished with, what was it? 22 carries. You had Arch Manning only finished with 4. So you basically said, we're not going to let Arch run. We're going to say we're running it with our quarterback. Our running back. We're going to consistently pile drive it down their throat. We're going to get them frustrated. And then we're going to allow Arch to do some things behind the line of scrimmage and make plays. Arch played good enough to win the football game. And honestly, at this point, that is what you need, because you got a defense that's going to get after a quarterback and making mistakes. You got a secondary that can make plays left and right. And if you can trust your rushing attack to get anything going on the ground, you at least put yourself in a position to where you take all the pressure off of Arch and you start leaning into everyone else. And that's what we saw. They got after John Mateer. They had 5 sacks on the day. Oklahoma only had 1. Oklahoma had 12 tackles for losses, but they didn't get any for losses of 7, 8, 9 yards. They got them for 6, 3, 2, 1. So they basically kept it at 2nd and 11. You look in the opposing sideline. No, it was 2nd and 16, 2nd and 19, 3rd and 23. And especially in the second half, the Heat got down on that offensive line, put themselves in a position where constantly Mateer was running for his life. And then when he was making the throws, they were horrendous. I mean, the Jelani McDonald interception we could talk about as probably the worst throw of the day by John Mateer. But Jelani McDonald also nearly had a pick 6 in the second half that would have put the game even further out of reach. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Decision-making was errant. He never felt comfortable in the pocket. Wide receivers weren't able to create separation. And I give a lot of credit to this defensive backfield making it a challenge on them to try and force John Mateer to go ahead and throw it into tight windows. And he wasn't able to do it. But you can go ahead and talk about, again, little things like he wasn't fully healthy. That became an issue. No, you want to know what was the difference in this game? Is that Texas was able to run the football. And you know who wasn't able to run the football? Oklahoma. Oklahoma averaged 1.6 yards a play. They had 48 total yards on the ground. Texas had over 100. When you have that ability just to trust your secondary element and know that your offense is going to be somewhat multifaceted, it at least gives you the opportunity to strike. And then you throw in the special teams touchdown. I said before the game on Texas Sport Unfiltered show, you either needed a short field position with a defensive scoop or you needed a great special team return. They got better than a great special team return. They got into the end zone with the special team play. So Ryan Niblett, credit to you. Credit to Jeff Choate for the great positioning of everything. Texas came and delivered. They fixed a lot of their faults, and they put themselves in a position where it starts to feel like this is the version of Texas we were promised defensively. This is the version we can trust on the ground. Wide receivers were getting on open. Congratulations to DeAndre Moore finding your way into the end zone, proving that you're a quality secondary option in the passing attack. Here's my only question, and it's not to put a damper on Texas and what this season was and what this game has been. But where was this a week ago when you faced off against Florida in the swamp? Because now you are in win now mode for the rest of the season. Every single game, you have got to play like that. And hopefully it's enough to keep you at 10-2. Because if you're not 10-2 with your schedule, I don't know if you're going to have a signature win to say, well, we lost to Georgia, we lost to Florida, and we lost to Ohio State. And all those were on the road. So therefore, it's a little bit easier for us. You don't have that signature win to counteract it and go, that's why as a 9-3 team, we belong in the playoff. But the team that we saw looked like a team that could be in the college football playoff. It just also feels a little too late.
Bear, I'm going to ask you this question just because I feel like I have to, even though I think I know what your answer is going to be. Do you factor in the injury at all to John Mateer's performance? No. Do you correlate that at all? Okay. Because I don't either. You and I talked about this already, but I don't either. I mean, that's why I applaud him for saying after the game, hey, the injury's not a factor. Like the pain wasn't, it was me. I messed up. Because he is right. He did mess up. And then this was the thing that I think scared me about John Mateer. Like even when I saw him in person against Michigan, when you watch him, he's a really, really fun, electric player.
Yep.
But he's one of those guys, he's a risk taker. He can be a little erratic. Like he toes that line of electric and erratic. And I think that's what you saw. Like now that I think back, hindsight, of course, is 2020. But we all were asking ourselves, again, the Texas fans I was amongst, Sandman, why is Texas favored? We couldn't figure it out. Now that I think back, I'm like, you know what I think Vegas realized that we didn't give enough credit to? This Texas defense is still elite. Like you could argue they're the best in the country. They're one of the best. They're one of the best in the country. One of the most talented for sure. And as good as Oklahoma's looked all season, they had not faced a defense with teeth like this one. Yeah. And I'm saying that with all due respect to Auburn's defense, saying it all due respect to Michigan's defense, specifically though Auburn's, because I think Auburn's got a good unit. I just don't know that they had faced a defense like this, and especially with a John Mateer, that, hey, even if the hand was at 100%, guy hadn't played in multiple weeks, and you're asking him to come out there and, put up numbers against a Texas defense that is the caliber that they are. So, like, I think in hindsight, it's very easy to say it now that is what Vegas was seeing and why Texas was favored, because obviously they were right. I know you talked about, Bear, you were surprised OU didn't go to another quarterback option, which I think, here's the thing. He's your guy. And if he's good to go, he's good to go. Like, you got to roll with him. But I think it also goes to show, Bear, like, that's what they think of Michael Hawkins. They did not think Michael Hawkins gave them a better chance to win than even a rusty, maybe banged up John Mateer did. So
but it's like,
that says a lot.
To me, the thing was, why not run some plays with both of them on the field? Like some trickery. Like, because the whole thing with Ben Arbuckle is his offense is supposed to be so intricately detailed and have a masterclass of putting up some points that gets defenses to fall for the bait. Like, where was that? Where was that yesterday? Because it just felt like constantly we were seeing same Monday erratic play calls that put John Mateer in a position to where he wasn't able to build any chemistry, any consistency, any bit of a rapport in the passing attack. And because of Texas was doing so well, especially up front, taking away the running game and taking out Torrey Blaylock and Jaden Knott and they were rolling the ground and really making John Mateer have to beat you with his legs, which barely he did. I think that, again, you look right now where this offense is. It was infuriating that you didn't have any adjustments in the second half. And the scary part is, again, I'm not saying Texas is going to go to the playoff, but I thought that Oklahoma, with a win in this game, especially with how well your defense has been playing up to this point, gave you a little bit of common ground to go ahead and say, we're allowed to lose a game randomly. We can go to Neyland and we could drop it there. We can welcome in Mizzou and we could drop it there. We could go face off against Ole Miss and it'll be okay if we lose that one. Because if our defense is good enough and our offense is going to get back on page to where we'll figure things out. Chris, now they're 5-1 and you look at their schedule, they got to go on the road to face off against South Carolina, a pissed off South Carolina team that still has a good defense. And they could force the same amount of turnovers the way that Texas defense did against John Mateer. And then they get to go welcome in Ole Miss. Oh, and then they also have to go face off against Tennessee on the road. And Tennessee can score over 50 points if they want to. Now, they may blow the lead because they almost did yesterday, but they can score over 50 points if they want to. They also have to go face off against LSU to close out the season. Oh, and if that's not enough, you get to go travel down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and go toe-to-toe with the Crimson Tide. That feels like right now maybe is the best team. And if that's the offensive performance you're going to see, I mean, we're talking about from week 6, playoff team feels very much in the right direction of built to at least be sustainable with a quality quarterback to, all right, well, now we're looking at 8-4. And hey, Brent Venables, 8-4, you may be lucky and get to save your job, but you've got to make some massive, massive changes if you want to make sure that happens.
Yeah, and I think big picture, looking forward, here's the thing, and I don't know if Oklahoma fans want to hear this, but I think everything's still in front of OU. I mean, I would agree with you. We'll talk about it this week. The game against South Carolina is you have to have it. I mean, you can't lose that and expect to do anything of substance this season. That's probably one where if you lose to South Carolina, like you said, Bear, what a difference a couple weeks will make. We go from talking about them as a playoff team and Sooners living on cloud nine to, the Boomer Sooner faithful are going to be talking about his buyout. I mean, it'll happen that fast if you lose to South Carolina this next weekend. And then for Texas, I mean, listen, I agree with you. It's a great win. I mean, Longhorns were ecstatic yesterday, as you should have been. I don't think this is a college football playoff team. This team's not navigating undefeated the rest of the way. There are still issues with this group. I think if you were to finish 9-3, I think that'd be a great finish. I think you're more than likely an 8-4 team, right? I mean, it just realistically, I think that's probably what you are. But hey, doesn't matter. In a way, it doesn't matter. You may not win the SEC this year. You're probably not going to win the national title. You're probably not going to the college football playoff. But you know what you did do? You won Red River.
Yep.
So, I mean, and that means a lot. And trust me, I'm taking it from people I was with yesterday. That means a lot. Folks going as far as to say, we ain't got to win another game. Just please beat these SOBs. Just find a way to beat them. And Texas did that. One last thing.
Well, not only beat them, but soundly beat them. Put them in a position to where
it was dominating.
Embarrassing at times.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was sitting there mid-third quarter thinking to myself, Bear, like, Texas just flat out deserves to win this game. I mean, they dominated that football game. It became very, very evident as the game was going. Like, they were in full control of it.
Yep.
It got to a place where it was like, hey, if they go up double digits, I think this is an insurmountable lead for Oklahoma to overcome. One last thing from me before I close out this game. I do want to take a moment to recognize and applaud and give my attaboy early to Arch Manning, because over the last 7 days, the amount of shit that Arch Manning took, the shots, everybody was getting their shots in. Fans of other teams, his own fan base, tons of media folks. Obviously, the Athletic article that called him like the biggest bust in college football ever, or whatever the phrasing was, which was outrageous. And his numbers, they're not going to jump off the page. 21 of 27, 166, a touchdown. But he didn't turn it over. And behind an offensive line that still was not able to give him past 1,000 to 1,000. I thought he showed a lot of guts. I thought he showed a lot of toughness. Some of these throws he made rolling out of the pocket, there's one specifically where he's like falling down, making the throw as he's going down, hits whoever it is on the sideline for a first down. Like, he made some really, really gutsy plays yesterday. And I think that needs to be recognized. Like, he's got the it factor, and he's still growing and maturing and evolving. And like, despite the fact that it wasn't some huge performance, 354 touchdowns, I think Arch Manning took a step forward yesterday. I think he took a step forward in regards to his career, and I think he is going to have a really good career at Texas. I don't know if he's going to win the Heisman. I don't know if he's going to win a national title, but I do think he'll have a solid career, and I think we'll look back at that Oklahoma game as that was a moment where he took a step. How big of a step it is, I don't know. We won't know until next week and the following and how he follows it up. But I think he took a step, and he played with a lot of guts, a lot of grit, a lot of heart. I mean, he played with so much heart in that football game, didn't make the critical mistake, did his best to take what the defense was giving him. And again, he made some plays, man, because behind still an offensive line that I thought at times was going to get him killed, he stood in there in the fire and made the plays that Texas needed him to make. So, I mean, kudos to Arch Manning, bro, because behind an O-line like that, he could have easily just, gotten rattled and gotten flustered and let some of the outside noise get to him, and it did not happen. So I think Arch Manning, his play, man, I think it really needs to be commended.
I won't say that Texas is going to be a playoff team. I won't say that Texas is going to get past a 9-3 season. I won't say that they're going to find a way to beat up on Georgia or Texas A&M. Here's what I will say. the version of Texas that we saw on Saturday afternoon in the Cotton Bowl, which again, it's a game of games. It is a one-of-one staple. It is why I consider it the best rivalry in sports, period. That's the one that you need to see for the rest of the season. If that version of Texas shows on out, that's a team that you can start buying a lot of stock into. But remember, they got to make sure that they carry that same inertia and momentum when they face off against Kentucky, when they face off against Vanderbilt, when you face off against Georgia, when you face off against Texas A&M. You have to fight and act like that this is a game you want. Arkansas, for that matter. Mississippi State, for that matter. They're not games that you can just chalk on up and say, well, if we just go ahead and play our brand of football. No, your brand of football before it cost you a win against Florida. Your brand of football cost you a win against Ohio State. But if that's the version, you can buy a lot of stock into it. And there's something about Red River that turns it on for certain players. And it leads to where they become legends in their industry. That might be it for Arch. Let's not put the wagon before the horse. But it was a game of games. And once again, Texas fans, brag as much as you want. You kind of earned it because they dominated. And with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, or at least I was sitting, I saw Sooner fans walking out, getting ready to go to the nearest watering hole and drink their sorrows away. So much so that other Sooner fans want to fight them for how quickly they were departing from their location.
Yeah, Bear and I had two very different experiences yesterday at the Red River Shootout. Both awesome, but very, very different. But Texas, of course, with the big win, and you get to claim yourself as Red River Shootout champions for another year. And Oklahoma still has not found the end zone in 3 very long years in the rivalry. Bear, let's keep it moving. Let's talk Texas A&M. We got a lot of Aggies in here. I know they're probably nauseated with all the Texas love we just gave. So let's jump right into the Aggies. Texas A&M taking down Florida 34-17. You look at the statistics in this game, and by the way, you have to start with the A&M defense. I mean, crazy. What is it? Last 3 games, they've allowed opponents 2 for 33. I think it's the number. On third down conversions, 2 for 33 in the last 3 games. Just absolutely incredible performance by them. This was a game, like you mentioned, Bear, close early, back and forth, but A&M able to pull away. That defense, again, getting after DJ Lagway and company, forcing some turnovers, able to capitalize on it. Marcel Reed with a touchdown pass in this one. You had 3 separate rushers with a touchdown rush, 3 rushing touchdowns. The nice Marcel Reed with 1, Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens with the other. You know, Bear, this is a game you and I both expected A&M to take care of their business. They did. I was not buying into all the hype after Florida took down Texas, the way Texas was reeling coming in, and just I just couldn't trust Billy Napier to build off anything consistently. And I think obviously, you know, we see what happened. I think we were both right here. Let's quickly, we're going to give A&M their roses, I promise. Let's first start really, really quickly, Bear, on the Florida side. I mean, Gator fans want Billy Napier fired. I think they're justified in that. We saw James Franklin today at Penn State get the axe, which, of course, is really pissing Florida fans off because James Franklin's buyout was what, $49 million?
Over 49 million.
Over 49 million. Bear, we're sitting here with Billy Napier at 21 million. How do you make sense of it? What are we doing if we are the Gators?
You don't know Scott Strickland. That's the problem. Scott Strickland is a dude that wants to find any way to save as much money as possible and give every opportunity to people that he brought in. Again, not to go ahead and bring this up negatively, but Scott Strickland stood behind a coach that was facing massive allegations, and the reward was, we're going to win a national title in basketball. They did that. And so Scott Strickland likes to give people the benefit of the doubt as long as humanly possible. But again, you see that win against Texas. You see the way that they come out and they respond against a Longhorn team that has a great defense. And then you say, well, let's see where they go from here. And you had 245 passing yards. DJ Lagway had 2 big touchdown passes, but he also overshot multiple times. Vernell Brown, J. Michael Sturdivant, Eugene Wilson, and Dallas Wilson. Dallas Wilson only had 3 catches for 20 yards. You only ran it with Jaden Baugh 18 times. You decided to go ahead and steer away from the run, even when it was only a 7-point swing. You went 1 of 10 on 3rd down. That's the 2nd time in the last month you have not gone for more than 2 conversions on 3rd down in a game. You lost the turnover battle. You lost the penalty battle. You lost the time of possession. And you still had careless errors multiple times. So the thing is that at this point, you're just delaying the inevitable. And I think that when you look at the move for James Franklin, and this goes for every single coach out there, it goes for Hugh Freeze at Auburn, it goes for Mark Stoops at Kentucky, it would have gone for Sam Pittman. It doesn't anymore. It goes for Billy Napier. You're on borrowed time. You are on borrowed time at this point. Because if a program truly wants to be in that contention category to win a national title, they're going to say, we don't care about that buyout. We don't care about anything that you have to say. We don't care about anything that you think you can fix. You had your time. Now we got to go ahead and move in this direction. And so Billy's on borrowed time. If he doesn't turn this around immediately, and that team doesn't look like it did in the first quarter, because the first quarter, DJ Lagway was wheeling and dealing.
I think he was 10 for 12 to start.
Something like that. He had four or five passes that were just snaps like immediately. And then second quarter came, and then third quarter came, and both offenses stalled. And then you figured, okay, well, what's going to be the chance for us to make a readjustment? And Texas A&M found their strength, and they said, okay, we're going to go ahead and do this. And then Florida did it. And it's the same Florida stuff that we've been seeing constantly over and over and over and over again that has put them in this position to where it's very clear that immediately change needs to come to Gainesville if you want to win. That's it. Bottom line.
Bear, I'll just say this on the Florida side of things, and as people probably know, I've got some know in the situation and kind of what goes on behind closed doors there. You would be stunned how dysfunctional they are behind closed doors for a program that's, I'm just saying, like, when you think of the Florida Gators, if you're not as informed as we are, when you think of the Florida Gators, like you think that's a program that's probably kind of got it figured out. They got it buttoned up a little bit. Like they've won national titles. They've had success. It is a mess. It is a mess because you don't have a president. Number one, you don't have a full-time president. You got an AD that the entire fan base hates, right? And Todd Golden winning is great. Kevin O'Sullivan winning is great. But when football's doing what it's doing, it sours everything else. But the problem is your AD is attached at the hip to this guy in Billy Napier. You're right, Bear. I mean, Billy's not the guy. We know he's not the guy. You are literally delaying the inevitable. There's no turning it around.
No.
There's no turning it around for them. So anyways, I don't want to spend too much time talking Florida, Bear, because where the focus needs to be, Texas A&M is the highest ranked team in the SEC right now.
And they've earned it.
They've earned it. The latest AP poll came out. They are 4th in the country. And it was a very ho-hum win for them yet again. I mean, you win this game by 17 points. The pass rush is able to get home after DJ Lagway in the second half. Cassius Howell is an absolute freak. They've got studs all over in the front seven. I thought the Vernell Brown fumble, the forced fumble, that was a huge turning point in that game. You're able to take advantage of it. But Bear, it's like we've been talking about for weeks. This Aggies football team is they're complete. They can beat you in so many different ways. I thought Marcel Reed was solid in the game. You and I obviously were watching this game together. The one interception he had, didn't love the throw. I mean, obviously you throw it in a double coverage, and I don't think that ball needs to be thrown. So I think that's something to continue to keep an eye on. But, yeah, the good times just continue to roll in College Station, Bear. This A&M team, I think, is for real.
Again, I'm not messing around when I pick you guys. I'm being honest, and I'm saying what I feel at the time. It's not a part of a bit to get Texas A&M with the curse. I'm being honest here. Texas A&M, at this point, has done everything possible to prove that it has changed its entire culture and narrative from the 8-4 jokes. And largely that's due to who is running the show when it comes to Mike Elko and Tommy Moffitt. And I love that social media is getting to see Tommy Moffitt in his element right now. He was banging down the chair last night. It was awesome because of just the way that he was able to respond like that in that moment. Because if this is a physical team that gets after you. And again, Texas A&M always has the counter card. And it's like, whatever you need on that day, they'll counter it. Oh, we can't throw the football efficiently downfield. Like our wide receivers aren't breaking on open. That's cool. We're going to go ahead and run it efficiently and get 3 touchdowns and average 5 yards a play. Oh, we can't win with our ground game in this matchup. Okay, well, we're going to get 6 tackles for losses and 3 sacks, and Cassius Howell is going to get held on every play, and he still is going to get in the backfield. We're going to have an underrated linebacker in Torian York finish with yet another game where he is making the most tackles behind the line of scrimmage. Then you throw in also the fact that you're still getting more and more complete and more balanced. It's come to a level of where not only has Texas A&M earned my respect, I'm not going to lie and say this is, in my opinion, the most complete team in the SEC. And I feel like that, again, I heard this last week, and it's the one thing that still is going to hold me back. If Marcel Reed just works on the deep ball accuracy enough and the decision-making where it's not one or two bad blunders, this is a team that can go ahead and win a national title. It is. You got to fix that one fault, because when you go up against great secondaries, like you saw with Oregon, like you see with Indiana at this point, Ohio State, if you meet them in the playoffs, Alabama, even for that instance, they'll make you pay. They will make you pay offensively, and they will take that turnover and they will capitalize and get points off of it. If you can cut down on the turnovers, there is not a fault for Texas A&M to where you can say confidently, this is why they cannot win the national title. That's it at this point. They shut down a team that shut down Texas. I mean, again, that's where we are.
Yeah, I don't even know why that's considered a crazy take at this point, Bear. I mean, we're living in a college football where everybody has flaws. I mean, all these teams in the SEC are super flawed. Why is saying that Texas A&M could win the SEC and win the national championship a crazy take?
Because of,
I mean, again, they're right. I'm just saying, they're, from a roster standpoint, what we see on the field, they're as complete as anybody, if not more complete than anyone. So, I mean, every team has flaws. It feels like they have fewer than most, than everyone, essentially. I mean, they're just handling their business on a weekly basis. By the way, I do want to jump to this comment, Bear, because like I told you, people think I'm a Longhorn homer. D-Lon says, Chris, we just stomped the team that beat you last week.
Exactly.
Enjoy this Red River win while you got it. D-Lon, I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm not a Texas fan. I love the Texas fans. I love Texas, but I love A&M also. I'm not more Longhorn than I am Aggie necessarily, but
I mean,
I don't know if I'll ever escape that one. I don't know.
I mean, guys, I'm collecting the helmets above me right now. Here, if you want to get a quick little look, I got three. One from the SEC championship game. I mean, one from yesterday, Red River. Got Texas. Got Alabama. Somebody wants to send me an A&M helmet. I'll throw it up there. Why not? I would love to. I would love to represent your school. Okay, so he wasn't even talking to me. See, that's how much I get of it, though. I thought you were. So my bad on that. Either way, this A&M team's really good. And they took care of their business. And for Florida, it's just, I hope Billy's out of there soon. You would think this Mississippi State game upcoming for them is like, if they lose to Mississippi State in the swamp, all due respect to Jeff Levy and the boys, that's going to be all she wrote. There will be, yeah. Here's what I will say when it comes to Texas A&M. Let's see what you look like on the road. Let's see what you look like away from Kyle Field, because the only time that you've been tested is Notre Dame. And that's fine. There's Notre Dame. You got to win. You got Mizzou. You got Texas. You got to go still face off against LSU, a place they haven't won since 1994. But there's enough to where you can go ahead and say, this version of A&M, legit. I think they are very well deserving of the number 4 spot and currently the AP poll. Like, I argue with the AP poll every single week. You're getting no pushback from me when it comes to literally where A&M ranks in going into week 8. Not even a little bit.
Yeah. A&M, the best team in the SEC right now. Check the SEC Unfiltered power rankings. That will be reflected accordingly. We'll say that when they drop tomorrow. Bear, let's go to the game that took place down on the Plains. Georgia comes back, outlasts Auburn 20-10. We're probably going to spend as much time talking about the officiating as we are anything else in this game. And let's just jump right into it, because there were so many different calls in this game. And I told you this, and I posted about it on social media. I mean, people talk about officiating a lot. I don't know if I've ever seen more people coming down on officiating and complaining about officiating in all the games across the league. I don't know if I've ever seen it more than I have in the last 24 hours or so, 24 plus hours. Like, I mean, it's every single game. And I'll tell you this, Bear, I know you don't, but like, I'm actually like, it's in a funny way almost. I feel bad for Auburn, because it just seems like they are the victim of these crazy calls on a weekly basis. Listen, Auburn's up 10-0. It is just before the half. Jackson Arnold supposedly fumbles the football, and Georgia gets it at the goal line. Would have been 17-0. Bear, the ball broke the plane, man. I went back and watched it. You look at the still shot. And listen, this is one of those calls. I get it. And again, I'm not an Auburn fan. I'm not a Georgia fan. I'm just calling it as I see it. I get it that if you're a Georgia fan, it was a fumble. If you're an Auburn fan, he scored. I'm telling you from my objective, unbiased eye, that ball, the front of that ball hit that white line, the front of that white line before he lost possession. I don't know, like, to me, it is clear as day that Auburn got robbed. They got straight up robbed. And what I hate to do, Bear, I hate to use officiating as a scapegoat or a crutch. I hate to complain about it because, I come from the school of baseball, right? Umpires suck. They suck every game. Never met a good one. It is what it is. There's varying degrees of levels of suck, but they all suck. But it is wild. Like, why are we having to talk about this so much? I'm going back to when we were talking baseball. Heck, every sport in the SEC, and I don't know if this will ever go away because we've got all this instant replay and we can slow everything down to the nth degree. And so, like, we can nitpick every little thing. So even if we had perfect officiating, I don't know if the criticism will ever end, but we have too much of it right now. In every sport, this is not just a football thing. Football is just obviously the most notable because football is king. But, like, how do Greg Sankey and the SEC sit back and not do anything? How do we not have full-time officials?
Yeah.
Even just that, even at least at that point, you could look at people and say, hey, these are guys that we are putting them in the best possible position to know what the hell is going on. Instead of asking dudes to do this just on the side. Like, the way this thing is growing, the money that is now in this thing, and you still got to go cheap on the officiating? I mean, it's crazy to me, Bear. So, and I'm not saying this is why Georgia won the game, by the way. I want to make it very clear. Listen, hey, Georgia's up 13-10 in the fourth quarter, and DNA Traits won out. They went on an 18-play drive, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, whatever it was, and they took it from you. So, like, let's give Georgia their credit. They did what Georgia does. And I don't think Auburn responded very well after that, what went down at the goal line. You got John Cohen, their AD, screaming at the officials as they're running it at halftime. Like, Auburn lost their composure a little bit, and they got dominated after that. They did. But it's still, like, we have to talk about it, Bear, because it's just to a point where it's so bad. It is impacting these games at a high level. And, like, as an Auburn fan, the blame's going on Hugh Freeze as it should, and there's other reasons they're losing. But my God, like, I kind of feel bad for them at this point.
Look, I've already said this a million times to you. I'll say it here. When you put the game in the hands of the Zebras and then the officials, guess what happens? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be wrong. So you best make sure you leave no margin for error. Whether you want to say that he crossed the goal line or not, I can see a scenario where he didn't. I can see a scenario where he didn't. CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson made a play on the football. CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson made a punch on the ball, and they said, here, officials, let's go ahead and give it to you. You've already found a way to mess up with Auburn multiple times this year. Let's see if you can find a way to fix it on this one. Really? No. Okay. So John Cohen had every right to be upset, but you have to make sure that you leave no room for error. At any point, if you watch as Jackson Arnold gets a cross and as he's going down over the line, then you can make the case, okay, guaranteed in no questions asked, all fine and dandy. We'll call it a touchdown, and then a fumble that, you know what, but he was already crossing the line. You can't leave it up to chance like that with officials. You simply can't. It's never going to go in your favor. And it goes for anybody, but specifically Auburn. Here's where I will fight back even more for the officials. And I really know that Auburn fans hate me here, and I'm okay with it. But Georgia, Kirby called a timeout. Okay, he did not do the clapping.
We need to discuss this. We need to discuss this because we've already gotten a question about it. So
he called a timeout.
So all right, let's make sure we get this information correct though, Bear, because I've seen multiple things. You've probably seen multiple things. So from what I have seen, Kirby Smart is running down the sideline going like this. He's calling a timeout.
He is calling a timeout.
He's making a timeout motion with his hands. Now, what Sean McDonough on the broadcast and others started saying was Kirby Smart said to the official, "I was clapping." Well, if you go back and look, there's some Georgia accounts that have pulled the audio and have replayed that. Supposedly, apparently, what Kirby is saying is, like, what he was talking about, Auburn players, they can't clap. He's not saying I was doing it. He's saying they can't do it. That's what he's yelling about because the Auburn safety's back there like clapping. He's like, no, that's got to be a penalty. They can't do it. Now, they should have charged Georgia a timeout.
They should have charged Georgia a timeout.
He's making this hands, and I don't know if Kirby is like making a clapping motion like this. But I mean, it looks so much like a timeout. Like you have to call it. You have to call it there if you're the official. Again, this is another just mistake and blunder. But I want to defend Kirby Smart here. I don't think what he was telling the official was I wasn't trying to call a timeout. I was clapping. From what I've seen, and I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, and granted, it's from Georgia accounts, so they're going to defend their guy, but like heard the audio, he was saying like they can't clap. He wasn't saying I wasn't clapping. So, I mean, I don't know. I've seen multiple reports on this. I just want to make sure. Here's what I want to make sure, Bear, because it's a very dangerous thing if we're going to go out there. What I don't want us to do, SEC Unfiltered to do, I am not coming on this show because obviously y'all can tell, listen, Bear and I had a very busy weekend. We just got back in town from the Red River Shootout. I have seen all this, but I haven't looked at every piece of video out there. So I'm not going to come on these airwaves and call Kirby Smart a liar. That's what I'm not going to do. There's Instagram accounts out there and some others that, you know, they cover college football in whatever capacity they do it. They are just flat out saying Kirby Smart is a bull-faced liar.
Sure.
I'm not doing that. Like I'm not doing that, bro. Like, I mean, if he did, I suppose. From what I've seen, I think there was a Sean McDonough said one thing that I don't know that was happening. That's the thing. And that's very dangerous too, because he's up there in the booth doing the play-by-play of this thing. He's making an assumption of what Kirby Smart's saying on the field. And that's, from what I've been able to see, not even what Kirby was saying. So, you know, we got to be careful here with this. That's all I'm saying. We got to be careful. Whether he did, whether he didn't, I'm not going to come out here and say Kirby Smart was a liar when there are very conflicting reports of what took place. That's all I'm saying. But he should have been charged a timeout. He should have been charged a timeout.
This is clapping. This is clapping. This is not clapping. So whether or not he meant to, you still should have been charged a timeout. Now, here's the part where we got to go ahead and talk about Georgia. Georgia, you cannot afford to continue to start off slow offensively. You can't. You cannot afford to constantly let teams be able to start to gain momentum, especially with how this offense is looked at times. And remember, we're talking about a fumble in the end zone that could have been called a touchdown and you would have been trailing 17-0. You can't afford that. You just can't. And I don't know if it's because of you don't like what Mike Bobo's play calling is. I don't know. It's because of Gunnar Stockton so inconsistent. I don't know what, but you have to start starting faster. And offensively, you got to come out swinging. You got to take those chances. Here's where we got to go for the other side. Officiating. Again, how horrendous it was on the final drive before the end of the half. How undisciplined is Auburn? And this is where I will now say, again, Auburn, you can go ahead and say, well, the timeout should have happened. The game should have been, he should have been across the goal line, should have counted. You still had a blatant targeting call. You still had multiple late hits, horse contact. You had countless issues on the final drive where they at least walked away with points. And then in the second half, your offense has to still show up. And it felt like, me personally, John Cohen and Hugh Freeze, when they did not get the call, The momentum got sucked out from there on out. You have an entire 30 minutes left to play. And it was like, oh, you know what? We're just going to go through the motions. Offensively, the play calling was drastically droll. You allowed far too many plays in the second half to be able to allow Georgia to get back in. And Georgia responded. And that's where, again, you have a coach that you can trust. Down, never out. Georgia plays with confidence. Georgia never feels like the moment is too big for them. Georgia never feels like that they're ever truly out of the game. They weren't out against Tennessee and they were trailing by nearly 3 scores. They weren't out against Alabama and they were trailing by 2 scores. But that one play was it. You had the one drive from Auburn. They left it all out there. He said, this is where we're going to go for the jugular. And then they didn't show up. And what happened? Well, you got a big-time play downfield to Noah Thomas. You were able to find your way into the end zone with Chauncey Bowen's touchdown. You were able to find a way to go ahead and get on in also behind the legs of Gunnar Stockton, who was your leading rusher. You finished with under 315 yards of offense, but still, it was enough to get the job done. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to Hugh Freeze. You look at a guy like Kirby Smart, you're down, you fight back. Hugh Freeze emptied the clip on one drive and said, you know what, this is where I draw it. And you could see it in his face. You could see it on the sidelines. You could see it in the press conference. You can blame it on Jackson Arnold all you want. You can blame it on the insufficiencies of the offensive line. You can blame it on all these other things. It still comes down to your head coach. And one head coach has the identity of a program built to win a national title. The other one has the identity of a program that constantly has found itself failing to meet 500 records.
Yeah, I mean, Bear, I know Auburn fans won't like to hear this, but I kind of look at it this way. Winners win and losers lose.
And you lost.
Winners find ways to win and losers find ways to lose. And Hugh Freeze is a loser at Auburn. I mean, they're just, dude, they are 2-8. 2-8 against Power 4 teams in Jordan-Hare Stadium. 2-8. So, I mean, and it's like, it's just become such a trademark of the Auburn program under Hugh Freeze that it's like they invent ways to lose. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. I mean, I've said my piece on the officiating stuff. And like I said, I want to make it clear too. I'm not, to everybody out there, I'm not trying to say Kirby Smart's completely innocent, by the way. He was, no. I get it. He was calling a timeout. But I'm just saying I'm not going to come out here and say he's a liar, like just a bold-faced liar. Like, I'm not doing that. And you know, if that's, I know that middle gray area is not the most popular place to live. It's not going to get the most clicks, but like, I'm just not doing that, Bear. If I get some new information in the next 24 hours, and I'll adjust accordingly, and you will get my take on it. But anyways, yeah, I mean, Georgia, you had a whole second half to play, and Georgia just went and took it from you. And that death march drive they had late in the game, that is just so peak Georgia football under Kirby Smart. And I'll say this too, they've got a warrior with Gunnar Stockton at the quarterback position. This kid just keeps taking hits, keeps popping up. I mean, Bear, we saw the one that, my God, I don't know how Gunnar Stockton just jumps up after that, but he does, because that's just what he does. So another big road win for them. I'm just laughing, sitting here thinking, man, it's going to be Georgia, Bama, and the SEC title again. They're both just going to find a way there after all this craziness and madness. And it's like, we're just going to get right back to where we've always been with Georgia, Alabama. But, you know, it's a program with Georgia, man. It's winning is so ingrained in the fiber of their being. They expect to find ways to win games like this. If they'd have had that penalty, if they'd have had that goal line thing happen to them, I guarantee you Georgia wouldn't have reacted the way Auburn did. You know what they'd have done? So what, now what? Let's go find a way to win the game. And they would have done it. They would have done it. And that's the difference. So, yeah, I mean, I know Auburn folks don't need me to say this, and I've seen many others out there on the timeline, but we're getting to the end of the Hugh Freeze era, Bear. We're getting to the end because they're at a place in his tenure, they're expecting to win games like this, especially how you started that game. And it's just, there's just a culture of losing under Hugh Freeze. They find ways to lose. Bottom line.
Look, I don't want to spend a lot of time because I know that we don't need to be going for 2 hours on a podcast, but I also want to say this real fast. You can go ahead and tell me that officiating costs another game for Auburn. Auburn had 11 penalties for 103 yards. You're an undisciplined football team. Oh, and the other thing that's really important here to remind yourself of, you have all of these recruits, all of these 4-star talents, all of these high-profile names. that you expect to resemble the culture of Auburn football decide to play for the orange, the white, and the blue. They want to represent War Eagle and bring it back to prominence. And you know what they're not doing? They're not being properly developed for the NFL. So when you sell me on the idea of, oh, well, we got to keep Hugh Freeze because we got to keep all these recruits, you mean the recruits that aren't meeting the expectations as a 4 and a 5-star? Convince them to stay by offering the right amount of NIL deals. Bama did it. Ohio State did it. Countless others did it. Like, spare me with the, oh, we have to hold out because if Hugh Freeze brought them all in. If they're not going to be in the NFL and properly developed by the guy at the helm, there's no point of them being there. So decide on what ground you want to be on. But spare me with the officiating. Spare me with all the, oh, well, we continuously find ourselves that we have other people coming out and calling us out. You have a bad head coach. You have a guy that can't win in the SEC. You have a guy that has not changed his offense since 2022. That's who he is. Accept it. Accept it. And make a damn hire that people actually are going to be excited about. Because I remember when you said, oh, Brian Harsin sucks. Okay, well, you know who else also sucked? Hugh Freeze. It was underwhelming. All right, I'm done. There's Auburn fans, again, they constantly like to go ahead and say, we're the victim in all of this. We're the victim in all of this. You're not the victim. You made the call to hire him. Make the call to fire him and pay for the right players to stick around. Do what everyone else does. Alabama. Let's talk about it.
Drop the mic. By the way, make note of this, Bear. Marcus Brooks says that where do I send the A&M helmet, full size or mini? There you go.
Mini. I will gladly DM you afterwards.
Marcus Brooks on Facebook. Make note of that. I will
gladly DM you afterwards, Marcus. Appreciate
you, Marcus. All right. Yeah, like you said, let's get off this one. Let's talk what happened in Columbia, Missouri. You could probably argue this was the best game of the day, most entertaining game of the day. Bama beats MIZ, final score of 27-24. Bear. It was another outstanding performance by Ty Simpson on the road in this one. 23 of 31, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day. Jam Miller, yet again, we talked about the impact of his return. 20 for 85, really solid. And here was the key, Bear. He was more productive than Missouri's running back. I mean, you and I know you'd agreed. If I'd have told you before this game started, hey, Ahmad Hardy, he's going to rush the ball 12 times for 52 yards. No touchdowns. You just said Mizzou has no chance to win this game. So the fact that it was a 3-point game, I mean, really, kudos to Missouri. Kudos to Bo Prabula for those guys finding a way to muster some offense without the production of Ahmad Hardy. But at the end of the day, it's Alabama getting the win on the road. And this was one, obviously, they're up by, I believe it was double digits. Missouri makes a great drive down the field. Bo Prabula leads this team, obviously ends the game with a really bad interception. Thoughts on Bama escaping and finding a way to take down MIZ?
Yeah, there were a lot of things I came away more impressed with Missouri than some teams that won this weekend. I mean, we could say that Jay Miller had more rushing yards than Ahmad Hardy, but Alabama had fewer rushing yards than Mizzou did. And Mizzou did more with those rushing yards after contact, and they still were able to average over 5.6 yards a play. They still were able to punch their way into the end zone at one point. Jamal Roberts had 5 carries. He had that big 39-yard run. Bo Prabula got after it. So they did some things that you really can appreciate in that standpoint. They also were able to put pressure on Ty Simpson. Like, there were multiple drives where they got after it and they won their one-on-one battles and they got in the backfield. And you saw that, you know, even though Ty was able to have some good throws, when you put him under duress and he makes some errors, it can lead to some faults that led to a short field position out of the break. The other thing is that you got to remember, they got the fumble and they immediately capitalized. They found their way into the end zone. And so Mizzou at this point, I think, showed you they have a team that will give you its best punch. And that might be good enough because of the way their schedule is, 10-2. And 10-2 will get you in the college football playoff. I'm not selling my Mizzou stock at all. There were a couple of really bad drives from Bo Prabula. There was that great drive in the past of Donovan O to bring this from a 10-point game to a 3-point game. But you got bailed out with a really, really good 4th down catch from Donovan O. Then you overthrew him and right in the right spot. Dijon Lee waiting in the back end. It looked like a punt that was just far over. The way he caught it in the breadbasket went down immediately. It was not a good drive. There were multiple moments that they got after Bo Prabula and forced him to make some mistakes. But I'm still not ready to sell my entire stock on Mizzou. What I will say is I'm buying all my stock on Ty Simpson. I mean, Ty Simpson at this point, I don't think it's far-fetched to say when you give him time to throw and to work in his element, he is the best quarterback in college football. He's the best quarterback in college football.
Yeah.
The way that he makes the decisions, the way that he steps on up into every pass, the way that it's surgically timed to where it meets the receiver at the right point. It's everything that you want to see from a quarterback that you know needs to lead you on a 3 to 4 game run en route to a national championship. And it was more of that yesterday. 200 passing yards, 3 total touchdowns. He also stepped on up and was not afraid to go ahead and take some hits as he was delivering throws downfield. And then the 4th and 8 call. Again, the sicko who is one Mr. Ryan Grubb. 4th and 8. Give a lot of credit here. Going up, waiting, dialing a dot to Latsier Brooks. I mean, that's just something that you either have or you don't. It simply is. And Alabama has that right now. And a lot of teams in the SEC don't have that. And that's what's going to make them such a dangerous threat. I think the rest of the season, you got a game upcoming against Tennessee at night. You got a game against LSU. There's a lot of things that you look at this point that say, man, if Alabama just plays this version of football, like, are we even talking about them and what happened with Florida State anymore? Because that team's extinct. That team's like the dinosaurs. It's 65 million years in the past. We're right here and we're locked and loaded. Also credit to Bama's defense on several key plays. Major 4th down stop in the first half, and then the fake punt. To be able to go ahead and properly diagnose that it was a fake punt and to not bail on your position and to get that stop that led to a touchdown drive. That is impressive. That is a major hap in the right of Kane Womack. Got to give credit where credit's due. Again, they could have easily gotten that play. Could have easily been the moment. Instead, Alabama takes it 8 plays down the field. They get into the end zone. 1 yard pass to Daniel Hill. I wonder what's going to happen now with Jam Miller's status. Because again, him missing time was very big to the run game. Is he going to be full speed next week for Tennessee? Probably not. When is he going to be back at full speed? And do you trust that we're going to get that version of him? Because that is a fault right now for Alabama. But again, I came away impressed with both teams for different reasons. Not willing to sell my stock, even a little bit on Mizzou. I still think they're a top 15 team in college football. To be able to fight back was great. I think that when you look currently at Alabama, they're a team that right now has the Heisman favorite. They have weapons on weapons on weapons. You know what's so much, Chris, we haven't even talked about this. And I don't even think I told you this yesterday. Can you tell me off the top of your head how many catches Ryan Williams had?
0.
Is it crazy that doesn't matter? Because of Latsier Brooks is doing and what Jeremy Bernard is doing. And I say, like, that's how dangerous Alabama's offense is that you had a guy that we all thought was a top 10 player and the second best wide receiver in the sport. Oh, he did nothing and they still found their way into the end zone 3 times. Cool. I mean, that's the impressive part about Alabama and where this offense is.
I mean, Bama's looking like we thought they were going to look, Bear, from the depth standpoint. I mean, this is what we talked about in the preseason. It was like there's just so many guys that can beat you. And, I mean, Ty Simpson, listen, I mean, I obviously thought he was going to be very good. I placed a bet on him to win the Heisman Trophy. But I was obviously taking a little bit of a shot in the dark. It's just like what you don't know is what you don't know at that point. But he has lived up to every expectation and exceeded. I loved what I saw after the game, by the way, Bear, and this says a lot about a dude that he's in the post game looking at the stats. We didn't do this well. We didn't do this well enough. He was like self-critiquing and critiquing the offense moments after, he has again, he didn't light the world on fire, but 200 yards, 3 TDs, no picks, had a pretty good game. They won, but like just self-evaluating and self-critiquing. And I'm like, that's a dude that gets it. Like he really gets it. By the way, FanDuel does disagree with you ever so slightly. They've got Carson Beck as the favorite right now in the latest odds to win a Heisman Trophy at plus 320. Ty Simpson, plus 340, right behind him. So, I mean, call it 1A, 1B. And again, Bear, is someone that is sitting on a plus 1,800 Ty Simpson ticket. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'll tell you this, Bear, I'm not totally selling my stock on Missouri, but it feels – I think they're a good team. It just kind of feels like same old story with them where – this was a big opportunity for them to make a statement and I guess shame on us because it's so easy to write Mizzou off. That's the problem. It's so easy to write them off and think of them as an afterthought. I don't think of them that way at all. But I do wonder, like, hey, is this just going to be kind of a nice, like, 9-3 season like last year where it's sort of just forgotten? Because they've got to be able to score that signature win. They have to. They just, you're going to have to if you're going to get to that 10-2 mark. I still think it's doable, but, you're going to have to break through this glass ceiling that seems to sit over you at some point. And certainly Ahmad Hardy's Heisman chances took a major, major hit yesterday, because if you're going to win the Heisman Trophy, you got to ball out in games like that. And credit to Alabama. They were not going to let him beat them. They keyed in on him. I think, like you mentioned, Kane Womack and company had a really good plan against him. And again, I say credit to Mizzou for having that secondary punch, as you like to say, Cole. But at the end of the day, it's Bama outlasting them. Ty Simpson played a brilliant game. You did just enough, and it's what good teams do. They go on the road, find ways to win. So that's what separates the good teams from the great teams is, like, can you go on the road and go beat high caliber teams? And that's what Bama did.
Mizzou can have an opportunity to get its signature win. A&M comes to town. A&M at that point, depending on what they look like and based off what we've seen, still has an opportunity to be one of the 4 best teams in college football. That'll be your next chance. You also have an opportunity, because we're going to talk about this next team probably next, to go face off against Vanderbilt, who, for those of you who haven't checked at FANDUEL.com right now, is a favorite over LSU. And if they win that game, that becomes a must-see scenario out at First Bank Stadium between the Tigers and the Commodores for the race into that running for a college football playoff berth.
Yeah, Bear, on that note, let's jump into that game that took place with specifically Vanderbilt's opponent, the LSU Tigers. They take down South Carolina, final score of 20-10. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way, by the way, Bear. And I love LSU, folks. Y'all know, I've been accused of being an LSU fan too. Heck, I've been accused of being a fan of every team in the conference by now, which is totally fine. But I got none but love for LSU, folks. Hey, spoiler, we're going to be in Baton Rouge in a few weeks. Like, I love those folks down there. I'm not telling y'all how to fan or how to deal with y'all's program or LSU folks. Can we stay to the end of the game when it's a 1-score game? Y'all are leaving early when it's a 1. I get if it's a blowout. And I get it. Like, hey, what I will not do is tell you what to do with things you spend money on. You bought the ticket. You want to leave early, fine. But it's a 1-score game and you're leaving the game early, Bear. Like, come on, man. Like we got to be better than that. Like, we've got to be better than that. There's no excuse for it. It makes no sense. If you go to the game, just stay to the end. I know the traffic sucks, but if you don't want to deal with the traffic and all the stuff that comes to go to the game, just don't go.
Yeah.
Just don't go. That's just my 2 cents on it. I love LSU, folks. If you left the game early, I listen, I don't think less of you. I don't dislike you. It's crazy for me. I had some buddies down there at that game. They're texting me like, man, this atmosphere is really soft. Like, they're sending me pictures of the stadium with, it seems like half the fans are gone. He's like, dude, this was in the 4th quarter in a 7-point game. So I don't know if this is a reflection, Bear, on just how bad things have gotten from how disgusted they are with the product, which you have to understand. I'll give credit to this. LSU is just different. Bro, they can be winning, but if they don't like the way it looks, they're out. And that's what's happening because they're 5-1. They're ranked in the top 10. But, Bear, this game was abysmal.
It was ugly.
Abysmal. It was ugly on both sides. Garrett Nussmeier is very inconsistent. Yes, he throws for 254, 2 touchdowns, but he has the 2 interceptions. You get the ball in the red zone multiple times, have multiple turnovers. You actually, Bear, astonishingly enough, you ran it for 168 yards. That's got to be a bright spot for you, right? You got Caden Durham with 70 rushing yards in the night. Jawan Johnson with 66. Heck, even Nussmeier got in the action with 30 rushing yards. And your defense getting after South Carolina, as we suspected they would, Bear. I believe it was 5 sacks. Did they finish with more than that? I know at one point watching the game, it was 5 sacks.
5 sacks.
Had.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 total sacks tonight. Lenoris Sellers, Bear, again, more of the same, running for his life. Interestingly enough, which I've been critical about Shane Beamer and who he anoints his OC in the past about the way they utilize personnel. Bear, Matthew Fuller has a, 73, I believe it was? Yeah, 72. 72-yard touchdown run, and I believe his first carry of the game or very early in the game. He doesn't come in after that.
Yep.
For like 3 quarters. You just completely go away from him after that. I know fans were frustrated with that. Lenora Sellers' stat line is very pedestrian, 15 of 27, had an interception, had 22 carries for 19 yards. Again, the offensive line was abysmal. And, oh, by the way, side note, Lonnie Teasley got fired today, the offensive line coach. So that's how things are going for the Gamecocks and the offensive side. It was what I expected from the South Carolina perspective. But, Bear, like, this LSU product right now, you're winning, but the home faithful very, very, very disgruntled with what they're seeing, especially on the offensive side of the football. I don't blame them, by the way. I don't blame them.
If there is one positive to take away from LSU yesterday when it comes to the offense, you averaged 6 yards a play on the ground. You finally ran the football efficiently. I mean, Caden Durham got back fully healthy. First time this season. Got to see him be a lead back. 70 yards. Had a big couple runs from Jujuwan Johnson. Garrett Nussmeier had a couple big runs. Harlan Berry got in the game. 28 carries. Again, we'll take that. The problem is that here we are once again having the yeah, but conversation with LSU. And the yeah, but conversation starts off like this. Yeah, they're a great team, but insert the fault here. And it's a compliment that leads to an insult. Yeah, they're a great team, but no defense to bail them out of trouble whenever you see a bad interception from Jaden Daniels. Yeah, they're a great team, but they usually can't run the football to save their life. Yeah, they're a great defense this year, headlined by a coach that probably is going to get some offers to be a G5 head coach this offseason, but they don't have an offense that can be sustainable to where you're winning in rock fights every single matchup against still inferior offenses. Because let's just be real. South Carolina so far has been a vastly inferior offense this season. Nowhere near the expectations of what I had for them. Nowhere near the expectations, I think, for what South Carolina fans expected for them. And it still was at one point a 17-7. I mean, it was a 17-10 game. I mean, like, all you needed was just one big play, and we're in a tie matchup, and we're maybe going into overtime. Like, that's all you need for South Carolina. The offense couldn't get the job done. But now LSU's offense can't get the job done. And so now when you face off against more quality defenses that are going to force a lot of 3-and-outs, including a Vanderbilt defense that is very good and very well mentally prepared to handle these type of games, you're going to ask your defense to basically say, hey, can you win a 9-6 battle? Can you get a pick 6 on Diego Pavia to help us win this football game? Because that's where the offense is. And that's a problem with Brian Kelly. It simply is.
And I was just going to say, Bear, you're going to face teams, too, that are more balanced as a football team. I think that's one of the big issues with South Carolina is they're having to ask their defense kind of to bail them out. And it's not last year's defense, but still has a lot of talent. I was about to ask you, who do you think has a better defense? South Carolina or Vanderbilt?
But Vanderbilt by a million.
Okay, well, there you go. And I think Vandy's also more balanced. Again, they're not the most explosive offense in the conference, but they're a pretty good offense. They know what they're good at. They lean into it. They got a dynamic player at quarterback. We'll talk about that one this week. It's going to be a challenge. But, the two positives, like you said, number one, you ran it for 6 yards a carry. That is a positive. You have not been able to run against anybody. So the fact you were able to muster that, good on you. The other one, Bear, and I don't think this is something new that you learned, but it was good to see it out in action. Trey'Dez Green is a freak.
Yep.
He is a freak of nature. 8 catches for 119. Bear, humor me. He's kind of like their Nick Harbor. Like not from the speed perspective, but just he's a physical specimen of a human being. Like, I mean, I know our guy Blake Ruffino, AYS, says he thinks he's the best athlete on the team. Pound for pound athlete.
Far away.
Yes. I mean, basketball player too. So we'll see if they get him more involved. But, dude, there's just so much frustration behind Garrett Nussmeier, the inconsistent play, the decision-making. And here's the thing, Bear. At this point, you are who you are. If you're Garrett Nussmeier, you are who you are, brother. Like, you're not changing. You're not – if that was going to happen, it would have happened over the offseason.
Yeah.
You are who you are. And, I mean, LSU's still 5-1. LSU, Bear, I think, still could make the playoff.
They could.
but you are who you are. I mean, I don't think this offense all of a sudden is going to find some magic potion that's going to turn them into what maybe we thought they were going to be. I mean, at this point, you might have to win despite Garrett Nussmeier. You might have to win because of your defense. It's not going to be an offense that's going to go out there and put up 30 or 40 points. And that is definitely a scary reality. And I think what pisses LSU fans off, it's not what they paid for. If we're just being totally honest, it's not what they invested in when it was all these NIL dollars funneling in to get Garrett back and surround him with all these weapons. And there's like, man, this offense should be one of the best in the country. And it's like, you're just not even remotely close to getting that. You're not.
What's really funny is you said there's no magic potion, but I feel like that we're having a conversation with Brian Kelly. And this offseason, he went to a Magic Fairy and said, I wish for this team to be different. Okay, so instead of it being an offense that can win you a national championship and a defense that can't get you in the playoff, now you got a defense that can win you a national championship and an offense that can't do diddly squat. Welcome to change in college football. Like, that's what it feels like at this point. And unfortunately, it is what it is. For South Carolina, and we can move on after this, whatever you think you need to retain for next season, do so, because this season's over. You're not going to the playoff. You are probably going to be a 7-5 team at best. You might be able to pull off an upset or two. You might be able to get the wool over someone's eyes and catch them on a bad Saturday. But the goals that we thought we had going into this year, not there. And they're not going to be there for the rest of the season. So figure out what is your plan long-term. And that includes Lenoris Sellers returning for 2026 and whatever you want supporting cast-wise around him. And then when you have your foundation, go to your boosters and say, we need to pay for this, and this in the transfer portal. And we need to land these players now. We need to make them an offer they can't refuse. Because you have a quarterback that is good enough to lead you to a playoff. There are still some plays every single week where you just are jaw-droppingly in shell shock of how he's able to make this happen. But at some point, you're wasting his talent. So figure out how to build around him.
Bear, I did want to highlight this comment before we get out of here. Miss Terry's Bathwater. What is Lane's daughter giving Whit in pregame? Yeah, Whit Weeks has got like a tradition now. He's just puking every game.
Yep.
Is that a thing? What is Lane's daughter giving Whit Weeks? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just like his thing. He's just it's an intimidation thing. He just pukes on the field every game. I mean, whatever works. I think Sandman, though, hits the nail on the head, though. He says, it feels like they aren't having any fun even when they're winning. There is not a more miserable fan base in the SEC that's winning football games than LSU. And it's not even remotely close. Like, They are, you would think they're 1-5. Like, no joke. You'd think they're 1-5. They sit here at 5-1. You know, everything's in front of them. But because it looks so porous. And here's the deal. I mean, if it doesn't get improved, they will get exposed, Bear. They will. Hell, they might get exposed this weekend in Nashville against Vandy. Yeah. They've got A&M still on the schedule. They got Alabama in Tuscaloosa. You will get exposed. Oklahoma is going to be a tough game. You will get exposed if LSU does not start playing better. I think that's where a lot of it comes from. They know that. You know, they know what's down the road. So, again, LSU, though, does outlast South Carolina. And by the way, Bear, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's the most no-brainer thing of all time. The Lonnie Teasley thing, that was just the start for the Gamecocks. You desperately need to move off of Mike Shula. Hey, it's one and done, but when fine. You know. When you know, right? So, a lot of issues for them on that side. So
speed through these last two games, then we get on out of here.
Let's go Tennessee, Arkansas, 34-31. Vols find a way to hold on. I think we got to give a lot of credit to the Hogs, man, for, Bobby Petrino for instilling some energy and some fight in this team. Taylor Green looked pretty good in this ball game. Again, they fought, but rushed for 241 yards in this game. But again, it was Tennessee who, after this game was 17-17 at halftime, by the way. Tennessee able to pull away. Arkansas comes back late. You thought maybe they'd steal it, but all in all, Bear, what do you take away from this one? This one kind of felt like a game flying under the radar. But yeah, Vols get the win.
Taylor Green, again, when he's really, really fun, is awesome. When he makes dumb mistakes, has an opportunity to cost them, and cost them a win against Memphis. It probably cost them a win against, it at least cost them a bad performance against Notre Dame. It cost them opportunities with the fumbles, and it wasn't him, but just still, just bad offensive execution against Ole Miss, to where Arkansas is kind of just looking at the season and going, here we go. Once again, put ourselves in a position where we get close, but close isn't close enough. And that is the frustrating part. Tennessee turned out to a really big lead. The hope is that Deshaun Bishop won't miss a lot of time. You watch that game. I mean, you watch that pull down with his leg. It wasn't pretty. He walked off on his own power, so that was good. You saw the passing attack of Joey Aguilar continuously still be a factor. He only had 200 yards passing in this game, but it's the, 24th time at this point that he's had a 200-yard passing game and a touchdown performance. Had a really, 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 really bad, I think, last couple drives where you just couldn't put it away. He did throw an interception, so that was fine. Tennessee can run the football. Again, we know this about them. They're very well, they can run the football. I think the other thing that's also really important here is that you got multiple weapons. Mike Matthews is living up to the speed. Brandon Staley's doing a really good job. Chris Brazzell didn't even have the best game of his career, and it didn't really matter. Braylon Staley actually was the big-time target in this matchup. So Tennessee is still a solid team, but Tennessee also is living in this world of, hey, remember when we couldn't stop anybody defensively? Okay, well, it's Colton Hood, and it's the defensive line, and then it's a bunch of, just green grass. Hey, you want to stop him? No, you don't want to stop him? Okay, I won't stop him. Chris, he ain't going to stop him, so he ain't going to stop. So just go ahead and score. Because that was the last couple drives. I mean, how many options and opportunities you constantly saw Taylor Green just break on out. You had a double-digit lead. You were up 34-17, and it just felt like put them out of their misery. You already forced a fumble earlier. You already forced that big-time stop. What? Just get another one. Oh, no. Now we actually have to play football because if he's playing backyard BS, we can't stop it. Oh, well, okay, that's another play. That's another play. And that's a lot of credit, what the talent that you have at Arkansas. And I think that ultimately is where you go back in your brain and say, did we really need to fire Sam Pittman? Yeah, we saw the fight and determination and the grit that was missing there for Arkansas because they fought back in this game. Rohan Jones got in the end zone. You had a couple of big-time catches from Raylan Sharp, C.J. Brown. Mike Washington had a pretty decent day. Cam Shanks stepped on up in place of Jalen Brown. So it's like there were things that you could take away from Arkansas where there's still a work in progress. But in my opinion, when it comes to Tennessee, when you ask yourself why Tennessee is not going to be in the college football playoff and they're going to finish 9-3, that was why. That performance. They couldn't put Arkansas away. Offensively, they took their foot off of the gas. They gave them a punt. They allowed them to score. They allowed them to score again. And then they got down to the wire, and luckily time ran out. But they got that job done, made it work. But you face off against Alabama in a night game in Bryant-Denny Stadium next week. And Kalen Moore's 12-2 with that black hoodie. Probably going to move to 13-2 if that's the defense that comes out there. And you still have an Oklahoma team that you don't know what to expect. You still have to face off against Georgia. You still have to face off against Vanderbilt, who, again, still a very, very good team.
Florida in the swamp.
Florida in the swamp where you can't win. I mean, again, your defense is going to cost you a win, if not two. And that's enough to get you out of the college football playoff. So, credit, you won a football game. I still see the vision for Tennessee to be a very solid roster. It felt infuriating watching that. They played around too close for comfort in the first half. They were able to kind of strike. And when you needed to go ahead and throw that sucker punch, kind of like you did against Georgia, no, we're not going to do that. And Georgia beat you, and Arkansas did. And that was really the difference.
Yeah, and I think it's surprising too, Bear, because Josh Heupel has placed so much emphasis on the defensive side of the football in Knoxville. He talks about it all the time, the history and tradition of all the great defensive legends that have come through Knoxville. And it's just to see this defensive product, it's been surprising to me. I know they lost some guys from last year, but it's still been pretty surprising. I mean, to see them give up 241 yards on the ground. Granted, you ran for 273. I mean, like you said, Bear, it wasn't like you had a bad offensive day yourself, but yeah, you got to be able to put games away late, and it didn't cost you in this one. But yeah, we're going to find out who the Vols really are when they go down to Tuscaloosa for that night game, third Saturday in October. Certainly that is one that is going to deliver. Bears, we close out here finally. I don't know how much time you want to spend on this game, but
I'll let you get
You know what?
started. I get my laptop charger.
Yeah, I mean, a game, I'll just say this, guys, a game that we thought there would be no reason really to pay attention to. Ole Miss is a 33.5-point favorite against Washington State. They're going to cruise in this game. They're going to roll. That was not the case because Ole Miss escapes this game in a 24-21 win over Washington State. Trinidad Chambliss, another solid performance, 20 of 29, 253, 2 touchdowns. No interceptions on the day. Kawan Lacey continues to be fantastic running the football, 24 for 142. Trinidad Chambliss, not a factor on the ground, 11 for 15. He did have a touchdown in this one, but really just a game in which, talk to some Ole Miss folks, and it really feels like the Rebels were just sleepwalking through this game. I'm not overreacting to it. I'm not taking anything that happened from this game as fact or conclusion. I mean, give Washington State credit, I suppose, but I'm not overreacting to anything that we saw in this ball game. I think defensively, those are the big questions for Ole Miss. Joshua Jumper says the Ole Miss defense is sus too. That was their question coming into the season. Just because you did what you did against LSU, we now see LSU and what they are. There's still questions to be answered for Ole Miss. And listen, we're going to get these answers when they have to go between the hedges and take on Georgia. But Bear, I was just saying, I'm not overreacting to anything I saw from Ole Miss in the Washington State game. We see this happen all the time. Maybe you're reading your press clippings, you're feeling a little bit too good about yourself, and you think you can just kind of roll the helmets out there and get a win. And I thought Lane Kiffin, I love the way that he approached it after the game, saying, "Hey, this isn't our standard. We didn't play to our standard. Like we're not proud of this performance." I'm sure if I could give Lane Kiffin truth serum, I bet you behind closed doors he's saying, "You know what? I'm actually really glad how this went because we won and I can chew my kid's ass and make sure I've got them locked in and say, hey, look what happens when you don't show up and attack this thing the right way." Right? Because they are human. They know they're playing Washington State. They know that they're supposed to win the game by 50. Like you can do everything you want to try to do, but that's the most difficult thing. And what somebody like Nick Saban did so well, and Kirby Smart, like they're able to keep the guys locked in, nameless, faceless opponent week after week after week. But it is a challenge. So you get the win, but you're able to also teach lessons off of a win instead of what would have been an embarrassing loss in Oxford. So, Bear, all things considered, nothing certainly to write home about or brag about, but I'm not like writing off Ole Miss because of one Saturday where you got a win that was closer than it should have been.
I moved them outside the top 10 because they left 17 points on the board that should have been executed. You had the missed field goal, you had the fumble recovery, and you had the turnover on downs, but at least you could have settled for a field goal. And I get it. Hindsight's 2020. Some of you that sit there and say, well, you go for it on fourth down. What if you strike? What if you score? Okay, well, then you were up. But what if you just take the points? You had opportunities, and you weren't able to get the job done in that standpoint. But Trinidad Chambliss still had a good day, 20-29 for 253. They ran for 4.5 yards of play. Daquan Wright and Dejon Stribling both had big explosive catches. Caden Lee had the big 35-yard pickup. So there's things that you can take away from Ole Miss to where, yeah, they're explosive. The problem that I have with Ole Miss is you played around with your food, and you can use the excuse of, well, yeah, but look who we have next week. It's Georgia. And, we're okay getting a close call as long as we can go beat Georgia. Okay. And then remember what you said last season when, you had the big game against Georgia and you won that matchup in your own backyard. And then afterwards, all you had to do was not find a way to mess up against somebody else when you were in the college football playoff. And then you allowed this little guy by the name of DJ Lagway and Billy Napier to go revitalize the entire stock of their program with a massive win that kept you and that defense out of the playoff. Like, this is where you can't take your foot off the gas. I don't care it was Washington State. I don't care that it was a matchup against an opponent. You could have had Testicle Tech come in the building, and you know what? It would have been the same thing. I would have rather seen you have the biggest matchup and the most glaring dominant win because of, let's be real, you have to play that way if you want to survive in the playoff picture. So I'm docking Ole Miss a little bit. I don't think that they're going to be viewed as a threat to win the SEC. They can still be a playoff team. I mean, you won a football game and you have a couple more matchups that are going to be very much down to the wire. Oklahoma being one, Florida being one potentially, the Egg Bowl. You still got to go face off against South Carolina. You still got to face off against Georgia. So again, the schedule still is going to allow you to get there. But come on, man. I mean, that was embarrassing in terms of you had the opportunity on multiple occasions to put it away and careless errors. Oh, and also just dumb penalties at the wrong time. Bad fumble inside the red zone. Like, those are correct. Those are supposed to be things that it's week 7. You shouldn't be making those mistakes. But you won a football game, so I'm not going to sit here and complain that much. But play more balanced and understand when you got the opportunity to strike.
Testicle tech. I like that one.
My dad has used that for
testicle tech. I like
an opportunity to use
it's
that.
more. It's brought right there with Slapdick State.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, Bear. I mean, again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. There's things I'm sure practice will be held this week, but yeah, it definitely looked like an Ole Miss team that was overlooking their opponent. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And again, thank goodness you avoid this embarrassment of what have been losing to Washington State. Bear. That being said, by the way, too, I want to say this. Couple things. Number one, in defense of you and I both, a lot of people out there gave us a lot of shit for going chalk in our picks, and we both had the same picks every game. I get it. I love when Bear and I disagree on every game, too. But we went 7-1.
Yep.
And the one game we lost, the favorite won. We could have gone straight favorites, and we'd have gone perfect. So, hey, let a couple ball knowers put you on ball.
I take that.
That's all I'm saying. We caught a lot of flack for those picks. Yeah. A lot of flack. So I'm just saying. So sometimes it's one of those weeks. It just lined up where, like, yeah, the chalk looked good and the chalk won out. I mean, I guess give Vegas credit for knowing who's gonna come out on top in these games. I don't know.
Overreaction. Yeah. Get that out of the way.
Overreaction. I'm going to say there's going to be a 3-loss team in the SEC title game.
Really?
I think this team's. I think this league is just going to eat itself alive. We are just in for, like, I said coming in the season it was going to be like the greatest season of SEC football ever, and I think maybe from the dramatics it is going to be. It will not shock me. Again, it's an overreaction for a reason. We'll get a 3-loss, 2-conference loss team in the SEC title.
Overreaction, I got 2. Number 1, if that is the version of Oklahoma's offense that we see the rest of the season, they will not win another football game. But that's the offense that we see the rest of the season. So that's number 1. Number 2.
What would that put them at final record?
5-7. 5-7. Exactly. That's number 1. Number 2. Vanderbilt very much still is in the running for a college football playoff berth. You can say whatever you want about how bad Diego Pavia looked, talked a mad game, had all of the practicing the kneel downs, and it was embarrassing, and he's got to eat crow. All that. You can say what you want. The fact that they are sitting with 1 loss and they are favored going into next week against LSU, look at their schedule. Look at who they face off against. There's an opportunity for a 10-2 season still to end up happening, or even an 11-1 season. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but Vanderbilt still very much is in the hunt for the college football playoff. And if you see a poll that has them ranked outside of the top 15, make sure that you go ahead and tag me on Twitter at Mr. Cole Thompson, and I will go find them and personally set them ablaze on fire, because they do not belong any lower than number 15 in the country.
Yeah, Bear, you and I were talking about last night when we were watching the games. You and I both agree. You know who loves this right now? What's going on? The Vanderbilt Commodores,
Vandy.
who are just chilling, just hanging out, watching all this madness ensue. Yeah, they love it. Bear, let's get into AttaBoys of the week. I'll be quick since I already said mine. I got to go Arch Manning. I just, again, the heart, the guts, the toughness he played with after a week of just pure scrutiny from everybody. A lot of it unfair, by the way. A lot of it unfair. Him to come out and play the way he did in Red River, tip of the cap. Tip of the cap, attaboy, Arch Manning, hell of a performance.
I'll be boring. You know what actually I'm going to do? I'm going to go Nick Sheridan. And most of you probably don't remember that, but Nick Sheridan had a very, I would feel like, unsettling conversation with Ty Simpson. And you started to feel like Alabama was getting a little rattled. And it was nice to see a coach when things are going south with the program that has a lot of people talking about it in the right direction, to not be afraid to make sure that they go ahead and pull him back out. No. Listen to me. I'm telling you what you need to do. And I appreciate that because I think that was the kind of pep talk you needed in that moment for Ty to hear, to make sure that he was able to go on out, make a couple of big time throws, and secure a win on the road for Alabama. Oh, and one more attaboy, and this one's a little bit selfish, but whoever washes the black hoodie for Kalen DeBoer and make sure that the magic still is enough left in there every single week, because 12-2, I'm just saying, it's a very, very nice number to have at that point. So whatever he's using, whatever conditioner, whatever type of soap that it's being washed in, you don't change the formula at any point. That 100% is exactly what you need to do. If it needs to soak for 2 days, it still soaks for 2 days until we see a loss. But whoever's watched that, absolutely.
Bear, I'm going to do one more special attaboy. This attaboy is not only coming from me, but all of the audience of the Overtime Drive. Attaboy to Cole the Bear Thompson, who made his first ever appearance on the SEC Unfiltered Tour and celebrated a birthday on Friday. Everybody wished the Bear a happy birthday. The Bear's birthday was on Friday. We got to celebrate it with him, bring it in I can't think of a better way to bring it in with Red River weekend, go to the game, had ourselves a blast. So attaboy, Cole the Bear Thompson. Hell of a showing. I told Bear, I said, can you believe I do this every single weekend? He's like, I think you probably question how I'm still alive. But either way, it's okay. No, we had a blast, man. It was a lot of fun. Everybody wished the Bear a happy birthday. And yeah, appreciate you, man. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast. Like, really, truly, I had a ton of fun with you. It was great to have you along with me. I'm excited for the day very, very soon where we make that a normal thing every weekend to have the squad together at all of these different games.
I love what I do. I really do. I loved that I got to be out there and I got to show you what is, in my opinion, again, college football's finest moment, the most pure version of what this sport that we have loved and all of our audiences loved for years. I'm glad that I get to be there with you for it. But I also will say I missed the live stream reactions. And so this week, we're right back to it. Third Saturday in October being one, Vanderbilt LSU being another. We'll pick the third game. We'll figure out the process with that one a little bit later. But I'm glad to be back this week with you guys. Thank you all for the birthday love and the support, and all the fans that greeted me and pulled me aside and said, hey, love the show. You guys may not understand how much that means to me, but it truly proves why we do what we do. And that even though it's for us, it's fun and we make some money on the side with it and we're building something very special, you always know that you're one step closer. Just continue to make that next direction, and always make sure that when you meet that person, you leave a lasting impact. And to those that introduced yourself to me this past weekend, I sincerely appreciate it. And I wish I could give all you shout outs. I really do. But just know that thank you all for reaching out, taking photos, saying you love the content. And make sure you continue to tell your friends, family, mortal enemies, best of bros that we are the #1 SEC entity on YouTube. And they need to subscribe to the channel, because if they're not subscribed to the channel, what the hell are we doing here? Let's just be real.
Indeed. That being said, Bears, we close it out. Oh, yeah, one last thing. The SEC Unfiltered Tour continues to roll on. We will drop the graphic at some point tonight, because obviously we came to you guys earlier today. And that was, of course, by design. The SEC Unfiltered Tour for week number 8. This is week number 8, right?
Week number 8.
Week number 8. For week number 8, I'm very excited to announce, thrilled actually to announce, the SEC Unfiltered Tour is going nowhere. And what I mean by that, not nowhere in the sense of no game, nowhere in the sense we're staying right here. We're staying right here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee, because we're going to watch the Vanderbilt Commodores take on LSU at First Bank. The first time, obviously, ever I've done a tour event or tour destination in my home city. I'm beyond stoked, as y'all can imagine. Getting to go to all these different places that I've been going to since I moved here, hanging out with people that, we've built a community here in Nashville, believe it or not, that love and support the business and the show. And so there's going to be tons of folks I know are going to be super pumped to host us and be right here. Obviously, we love our LSU folks that'll make the trip in, but we love our Lot 2 folks. We love all of the Vandy folks that show love and support. And I'm really excited for, I think, a thrilling game too. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm like I said, Cole, selfishly, I'm I've been fired up for this for weeks. I really have. I've been fired up for this game for weeks. The opportunity to rock the tour here on my home turf, kind of a home game for me, if you will. It's going to be an absolute blast. And also on that note, we are making a merch or a push in the merch game starting this week. I thought there was no better place to start it. Number one, the SECU hat that all you've been asking about, that's going to be a drop. And also, we are going to have team-specific colorways for SECU merch hats starting out this week. I'm picking them up early on Friday for specifically Vandy and LSU for that game. And then each tour stop, we are going to have this merchandise for you guys on deck, on hand, of course, all over our online store, secunfiltered.store. So a lot of exciting stuff happening this week to go along with the tour. And again, I'm super pumped to have one in my backyard, Bear, if I'm being totally honest. So the travel will be easy this week, but we got a lot of fun content planned. Vandy, LSU, Week 8 destination officially on deck. So that being said, as we wrap it up, guys, again, we're going to get out of here. We really appreciate y'all. Before we do, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel because, of course, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's what makes and who makes what we do possible. And, guys, FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, bet $5. If it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season's here. Also, of course, college football, college basketball, if you can believe it or not, it's just around the corner. The MLB playoffs are in full swing. NHL, everything you can think of. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app and get started. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Guys, that being said, it's been another electric Sunday yet again. We can't say thank you enough. Sunday Fun Day, October the 12th, is officially in the books. As always, like we mentioned, make sure, as Bear said, hit that like and subscribe button. We are on the race to 30,000 subs. Then it'll be 40,000, then 50,000, then 100,000. There is no ceiling on this thing. We're going to keep pushing. Make sure you go show your love and support. You're getting all your notifications for the show. We're dropping the immense amounts of content that we do. Wherever you get your podcast, check us out there. Social media platforms, our website, secunfiltered.com. Content bleeding out of the eyeballs. We have another huge week on deck for you all. With that being said, guys, he's Cole the Bear Thompson. I'm Chris Phillips. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. We're signing off until Wednesday. But again, till then, make sure you stay tuned to all the content. Y'all have a great rest of your Sunday night, and we will catch you all on the other side. Cheers.